Cash is king, and nothing chokes cash flow more than a broken billing process. Happy 2024! It's been a busy holiday season, and I hope you enjoyed your time with your family. It's a new year with new goals and milestones to conquer, and I'm looking forward to bringing you more insights and ideas to help you deliver a 5-star service experience. And to kick things off on a strong note this year, we're going to be talking about cash flow and the key role that billing plays to collect your cash fast and on time. And in an economy where inflation is up, borrowing money is expensive, and everyone is tightening up their spending, making sure you have a strong cash flow can mean the difference between growing at double-digit rate or borrowing money to make payroll for some companies. And that's why in today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive into all things billing for repair and maintenance companies. And to do that, I have my good friend here, Mario Simmons, Origo's VP of Transformation. And let's dive in. Mario, welcome to another episode on the Field Service Experience Show.
Thank you, Yassine. It's always nice to be here and have this chat with you. Thank you for inviting.
And I hope you enjoy the holidays with the family, and you celebrated Christmas and New Year. And, this year is looking really bright.
Yeah, it was a wonderful Christmas season. You know, Christmas really begins in the Philippines from September. It's always fun in the Philippines, yes.
It is. And it's more fun when your bank account is filled with cash. There's no backlog of invoices. Customers are not disputing the invoices. So let's dive into billing, and which is really at the core of our cash flow. So what's the scope of billing in a repair and maintenance company order to cash work stream? What role does billing play?
So it's one of the critical, part of your order to cash journey. Right when the job is completed, that's when the billing team, process is initiated. They start looking into the completed job orders. They identify all the billing components. They map it to the customer's contract.
Yeah.
Look for NTE, look for the hourly rates. They create the initial invoice. They have it then reviewed, look at if the invoice is accurate. Some accounts have processes where they need to upload the invoice in portal.
To like a portal or something, yeah.
So they will then have the invoices uploaded in the portal. And different organizations have different AP processes. Some requires a PO approval for each invoices. So they need to kind of look into those details and make sure those are complied with, and then send out the invoice or upload the invoice with the PO approval in the portals. So that's the kind of
right. So it's the beginning of what you call your finance process, your finance work flow in the order to cash. Typically in billing is when you know if someone didn't do their job, right? Right. There's not enough information. There's the wrong information, no AP contact. If you're doing B2B, having the right contact is critical. Parts missing, they have to chase down a technician, and all sorts of things that we're going to dive into. But when you're looking, billing is something that we do in a very big way at Oreo. And we partner with repair and maintenance company to really help them in their billing workflow. So for someone who does millions of transactions or processes millions of invoices every year, Mario, like what are some of the key metrics you look at for billing in a billing department or function or team?
So broadly, we look at three critical KPIs. One is the invoice turnaround time.
Okay. And how do you define invoice turnaround time?
So the invoice turnaround time starts right from the time when the job is completed till the time the invoice is created. So there's an invoice either uploaded in the portal
or sent. Yeah, and that invoice sent to the customer.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's your time to completion, right from the time the job is completed to the time.
Right. And I know, service levels and what different. One company is different, B2B is different than B2C. But what do you typically want to see in a fast invoice turnaround environment? Like, is there like a range or something?
We aim for 24 hours.
Okay. So same day.
Same day invoicing. Once the job is completed, the invoice has to be done within 24 hours. Now
the short time quality.
Without impacting quality, right?
And we'll talk about that in a second.
That's another metrics that we need to look at is the invoice accuracy. But that's critical. Kind of once the job is completed, making sure that the invoice is sent out immediately, so that it doesn't delay the process. And like you rightly said, right, you want the cash flow engine, which starts from billing, move faster.
100%. And so you want to get it done fast, but you want to get it done fast accurately, which is what you mentioned, the billing accuracy. So tell me about billing accuracy. How do you define billing accuracy?
So billing accuracy is basically making sure that your invoices are not disputed. There are no reworks. There's no escalation from the client on what's been invoiced for, and you are following the right process. So for us, that's what invoicing accuracy counts. And we measure that through disputes, escalations, rework, or escalations within the team. That's what we measure as well.
And do you look at it during quality assurance audits as well?
Quality assurance is one way to fix invoicing accuracy. So that's a kind of resolution for making sure that the invoicing accuracy is higher.
Right. So billing accuracy is a little bit of a delayed metric, right? You only know if there's a problem. It's not accurate. When there's a dispute, effectively, your dispute rate. And then, or it gets rejected in the portal.
Yes, it gets rejected in the portal, or you haven't followed the right process, right? So you didn't upload the PO approval, or there was a NT that exceeded and that was not approved prior to creating the invoice, things like that.
And any other KPIs you look at? So you've got invoice turnaround time, and then billing accuracy.
And then also the dispute rate, right? That's another important measurement. So reduce escalation. And that, essentially impacts your reputation, right? You have executive level escalations because of disputes, and it impacts the customer's AP KPIs also, because their AP team have SLAs and KPIs, and doing these disputes and back and forth requires them to spend more time, and therefore impacts their.
So you're looking at dispute rate, or you're looking at time to dispute a resolution and the dispute resolution satisfaction.
So accuracy already takes care of disputes, and then dispute resolution is another way of measuring it.
Right. So so for the actual billing process, it's speed and accuracy. But when a dispute happens, you don't want to just measure if disputes are happening, but when disputes are happening, how fast do you resolve it, and how effective, like CSAT? Do you do CSAT?
We don't really do CSAT in billing, but customers do voice it out through social media. We've seen a lot of,
or they send an email and as the email mentions, right? Right. So I love it. So now let's talk about some of the biggest problems that you're seeing in billing. So when you're migrating a process, or you're working on improving a billing process, what are some of the most common challenges and problems you see in billing?
So one of the key problems is the billing disputes, right?
Okay.
How do you kind of resolve it?
And what results in a billing dispute? So let's start with like the root causes.
So there are various aspects to what could, cause a billing dispute. One is, let's say the technician did not update all the details.
Right. Invoice accuracy or details. Complete.
So incomplete or inaccurate information.
Right.
Therefore, the biller did not have all the information, and invoice was created inaccurately. It could be the labor hours, could be the parts procured was not clarified at the time of doing it, and therefore there could be disputes from that aspect. Then there could be the biller that makes some errors, did not follow the AP process of, uploading the information accurately or completely in the portal, not having the PO approval, or exceeding NT, not charging the right hourly rate that's agreed on the contract.
Things like that. So the accuracy is so key. And then when someone screws up the billing process, switch for new customers. You never want to send the wrong bill for a new customer.
True, and it kind of changes their experience with you. then every time you send a bill, they need to double check to make sure there's no dispute, and by default increases your AR, right? And therefore, there's delay in your collections as well. So
Right.
it has an impact on downline.
And how? What are some of the things that you put in place to reduce disputes?
So especially for your customers that have contracts in place, your corporate B2B accounts where you have defined contracts, defined rates, we have a proper checklist for them to make sure our billers are following all the
So documented billing process per customer.
correct per end customer's process, because each customer have their own process, whether it's having a portal or the requirements of their AP team, if they need a copy of the invoice, if they need a signed off copy of the facility manager, if it's exceeding NT, was the approval from the facility manager, things like that. So we have a checklist by each customer, and therefore the process is being followed by the biller, and then the billers are assigned to specific accounts. So there is kind of
Yeah, and here your master data plays a big role, right? Because you also like
How easy for you to find like the pricing information on the contract, right? And chasing down that information,
yeah.
if it's not all consolidated.
And that's why it's important to have the documents updated, also the AP contact on who you need to send if you need clarification, things like that. So resolving these disputes also is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Documenting the process is really important, but also proactive measures like calling the customer after you send the invoice. You can do it for all, but also again, when you have global workforce and you can hire someone in Philippines or in Europe or somewhere, and you can afford to do more proactive contact strategy. Reaching out, at least for the bigger invoices, reaching out to the customer after a week and asking, hey, I sent you the invoice.
Especially for new accounts, right?
Especially
Where
for new
your processes
accounts.
are still getting defined.
Yes.
You're still trying to understand, what works best for them. It's very important to call, speak to them, constant communication, clarify, define the process so that, it's repeatable and there are no errors, and, you could kind of have a more streamlined process. Yeah.
Yeah, so the dispute function can lead to a lot of insights, right? Because it's you can pick up a lot of insights around dissatisfaction, these customers, right? And what's breaking in their experience so much that they don't see that it was valuable for them to pay the invoice, or so disputes can feed insights into the entire service experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. So billing disputes is a big area, and I would love for you to chime in. Like, how do you deal with disputes and reduce disputes? And then, like, the other thing about disputes, Mario, typically, so what would you like to see dispute rate? Like, what's a healthy volume of disputes?
One would want 0%.
Right.
But I think, you'd still have about 5 to 8% is an acceptable,
Right.
Again, it varies by industry, it varies by contract.
Yeah.
That is by contract more, because depends on how many non-contract accounts you have, like street or one-time customers. Those probably leads to more disputes because you don't have defined processes. These are one-off cases.
Right.
But accounts which you're dealing with regularly, you want 0% disputes because the processes are pretty defined, and the fallouts there would only be.
So you gotta segment your data and look at achieve a lower dispute rate on contract customers and repeat customers.
Because those errors there could only be people caused and could not be because of process breakdown, and then you identify who caused the error, easier to fix by
And typically, if there's a process breakdown, you see a much higher dispute rate.
correct, and that kind of also leads to a lot of delay and rework in the process. So wherever there's a process break, you want to first fix the process, bring in an expert, map out the entire process on both ends, and see how we can kind of streamline the process.
All right. So what are some of the other big problems or issues you see in bidding? So bidding disputes, and then what else do you see?
One other issue I would see is delay in invoice, right?
Of course.
Invoices are delayed by a week, and this is primarily because of not having the right processes in place. The PO approval process is not clearly defined or understood, right? Uploading invoice details in the portal is not clearly defined or understood.
Right, and so it's like a growing backlog.
A growing backlog of invoice because of clarification, or sometimes you need to reach out to the technician to get clarity on the details that are in the work order, right? And technicians are busy, kind of getting details, trying to connect with them. That's another issue. So these are some of the issues that
Chasing down information.
correct, chasing down information across internal teams and also customers sometimes.
And sometimes you see, man, it's just also the ERP doesn't help. You can't filter between, you can't filter invoice based on aging and they're all getting mixed up. So sometimes also the workflow gets in the way. Invoices taking more than a week to send out. Sometimes you also need to look at capacity.
Yeah, that's one of the, most of the new accounts that we manage, right? We've noticed that they've never done capacity planning for.
Right.
They don't look at seasonalities. They don't look at, how the past invoice has flown. They don't look at, corporate accounts and how those are delayed.
There's small accounts, exactly.
Capacity planning has been one of the key issues when we get new accounts, and that's how we at Origo kind of make sure we look at historical data, do capacity planning.
And time and motion to understand how long does this invoice for this type of customer it takes.
So while we bring in efficiency through streamlining processes in terms of how invoices are created and reduce that, we also kind of better manage the backlog through capacity planning.
Right. And we also, one of the key KPIs that we look at is invoice per hour. Yeah. That's a productivity
For the
measure.
pillar, yes.
Right.
And, and that's measured real-time basis so that we don't have any backlog. So, and it differs depending on different accounts, but that's a very key SLA for us internally, yes.
Yeah, no, speed and accuracy is really what billing is all about. Do you see any other breakdowns in billing that you bump into?
These would primarily be the key disputes and delay in invoices.
Yeah, I mean, so those are really the two big things. These are the two big things in billing that you see, right? You see escalation, which is typically a quality issue, or a delay. A backlog is growing, and that's the speed. And disputes, quality, but as measured by accuracy. Accuracy and completeness of information. And I'm keen. Is that similar to what you see in billing? If you're a finance manager, a billing manager, I'm keen to better understand the things that you look at. How do you define success in your department? How do you make sure that you reduce disputes? You make sure that the information in the ERP is being collected completely and accurately. And how do you ensure you get invoices out fast? So I'm keen to get your insights, and so that we can all build a playbook of operational excellence in billing. And we've got one more episode, and I think this is the one before our finale. So we'll on the next episode we'll tackle collections and wrap up our first series in the 5-star service experience series. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you around.